Humanity is a very diverse species. Everyone acts or behaves differently, with some being neurotypical or able-bodied and others being neurodivergent or disabled. As an autistic person myself, I have severe social anxiety, as I struggle to communicate and form connections with people despite wanting said connections. I have problems with my energy as I struggle to get out of bed and stay awake during the day, but have a hard time falling asleep when night comes. I tend to overthink and hyperfixate on specific things that often end up not mattering much in the long run. With my general disdain for real-world society, I end up investing myself in numerous movies, video games, and TV shows just to feel something. Anything. At times, I see myself in various fictional characters and relate to their attitudes and struggles a ton. Today, I'll be taking a look at 5 fictional characters I feel capture neurodivergence very well through their disability, mental health, and autistic coding. Let's start out with one of my favorite protagonists, featured in one of my favorite games, Shulk from Xenoblade Chronicles. The first time we see him, he's rummaging through scrap metal in a field to find materials. This first scene with him alone already displays his hyperfixation with weapons and machinery. He designed the shield his friend Ryan uses in battle. He spends most of his time in the colony's lab studying the Monado. He's shown to be socially awkward, giving the same response to everything Fiora makes for him. He tends to miss social cues as well. When Ryan tries to use the Monado, it bumps into Fiora without harming her. Since Shulk knew the Monado in its current state couldn't cut Homs, he wasn't too fazed, while Fiora is notably angry at him for overlooking her safety. This is merely the game's first hour or so, and we've already seen so many traits that could easily leave one assuming Shulk to be autistic. Yet despite that, Shulk is still a flawed, relatable main character with an engaging journey over the course of the game. When his home is destroyed and his innocence is lost, he is overcome by anger towards the Mechon and wants nothing more than to destroy them all. His fear and self-doubt often get the better of him. When he has a vision of something going wrong, he keeps it to himself out of fear of how his friends would react, which Ryan calls him out for in the Ether Mine. Over time, Shulk begins to view the war between Bionis and Mechonis in new ways, questioning the purpose of it all and fighting to stop it once and for all. His journey, starting with blissful innocence before sinking into anger and depression, is something I can relate to a ton, and I'm sure many other autistic individuals can too. His resolution at the end of the game is proof that yes, no matter how bad things may get, they can always get better. You're not alone. We're all in this together. I had to keep a lot of details beyond Chapter 1 vague to avoid spoilers, because Xenoblade Chronicles is a story you need to witness for yourself, as blind as possible. There are various protagonists from the Disney Renaissance you could pass off as autistic coded. Ariel, Mulan, Hercules, and the like all have traits associated with autism. The example I chose for this video is Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. For starters, well, he's a hunchback. It doesn't take a genius to understand why having a severe physical deformity would leave one to be unfairly judged by the public. Beneath his exterior though, Quasi is such a sweetheart, and his arc of longing to leave Notre Dame and trying to win Esmeralda over, only to realize all he really wanted was acceptance from the people of Paris, is very touching. This is something I can relate to a ton, as I spend most of my time in my room and often worry about how people would see me. It doesn't matter what race you are or what condition you have. As long as you're nice, you belong. Also, just like Shulk, Quasi has a niche passion of his own, that being building models of the surrounding city and people. Quasi's autistic coding also extends to his relationship with his guardian and the film's villain, Judge Claude Frollo. In the movie's opening scene, he murders Quasi's birth mother just for being Romani. However, he is begrudgingly forced to raise Quasi like his own to atone for his sin of killing his mother. Frollo is downright abusive towards Quasi, always talking down to him and forcing him to stay in the cathedral's rafters at all times. It's not even out of safety concerns. Frollo just finds Quasi so repulsive that he thinks having him around would sully his reputation as a priest. It's a shockingly realistic portrayal of ableist parents with disabled children we see in our world, and it works wonders considering Hunchback is a story all about overcoming prejudice. If you want to learn more about autism representation in the Disney Renaissance, check out this video by the YouTuber Otterly Noah that I totally didn't steal notes from. His whole channel specializes in exploring autistic rep in fiction, both the good and the bad. If you thought Quasimodo had it rough, wait until you see Shouko Nishimiya from the manga-turned-movie A Silent Voice. Shouko is deaf. As such, she has to communicate with notes and sign language, and her voice is also rather muffled due to her not knowing how it sounds like or how to control it. She was subjected to obscene amounts of bullying from her class, spearheaded by Shoya Ishida, who all relentlessly mocked her for her disability. It got so bad that she had to move schools, yet the events still proceeded to haunt everyone involved ever since. Though the story primarily focuses on Shoya's perspective and attempts at reconciliation, it doesn't shy away from Shoko's experience either. Their attitudes are opposite, with Shoya moping and brooding all the time, making his depression clear, while Shouko smiles through it. She tries to act like nothing is wrong, showing mere hints of her insecurities, like when she asks Shoya if her voice is weird. It gets harder for her to do as the story goes on, between her grandmother's passing and Naoka Ueno interrogating her on the Ferris wheel. During the latter, Shouko outright confesses that she hates herself, likely seeing herself as a burden to everyone around her. Her younger sister, Yuzuru, in fact, had to skip school just to protect her. We even see her make an attempt on her own life, and had Shoya not been there to save her, she'd be comatose. Or worse. Shoko's story is a brilliant examination of how damaging ableism and bullying in general can be for the victims. All she wanted to do was make friends and have a good time in school, and they tormented her for it. Most of the characters thankfully own up to their mistakes, but none of the bullying she faced should have any reason to have happened in the first place. Also, I need to give props to the English dub for casting Lexi Cowden, a deaf actress, to play Shouko. It's so nice to see them go the extra mile for proper representation. Jumping back to JRPG Swordsman, here we have Cloud Strife, the main character of Final Fantasy VII. On the surface, Cloud's just a typical mercenary who tries to act all cool and edgy, despite being a bit of a dork. For real though, Cloud was never the social type, always keeping to himself and rarely making any effort to socialize. He had a crush on a girl named Tifa, but he didn't bother interacting with her beyond a promise he made to her on the water tower, that he would join Soldier to make her proud. However, he didn't make the cut and was so ashamed that he hid his face during his battalion's trip to his hometown. If that wasn't enough, he gaslights himself and his comrades into thinking he really was in Soldier, inserting himself into the actions of his late friend Zack Fair. In the present day, he comes across as cold and snarky, he doesn't seem to care much about the damage Shinra's doing to the planet, and he's prone to anxiety attacks. Cloud's story is a great depiction of how damaging seeing yourself as a failure can be. Closing yourself off out of fear of dragging others down with you and trying to create a false narrative of what you wish happened is natural for someone with depression. Having to deal with all this on top of being forced to live in a world where an evil corporation reigns supreme is downright brutal. Even then, later in the game, Cloud still comes to terms with who he is and what his purpose is, thanks to help from Tifa and the rest of the party. He gains the courage to stop running from his problems and face them head on. Even at your worst mental state, you can still bounce back and be the change you want to see in the world. I saved the best for last, that being Violet Evergarden from Violet Evergarden. She was an eerily strong child soldier in the Great War who most people treated as nothing more than a weapon. She even lost both of her arms and had them replaced with prosthetics. After the war, however, it seemed her role was complete. Since the battlefield was all she knew, she couldn't really fit into normal society. She acted like a hollow doll, mindlessly following orders, she couldn't pick up on the clearest social cues, and she could barely even comprehend basic human emotion. She didn't understand her major's parting words to her, "I love you," a saying most people are familiar with. This led to her taking up a job as an auto-memory doll, writing letters for other people to try to better understand their feelings. As the series goes on, with each client she helps, Violet begins to understand what it means to feel. She witnesses many different types of love and loss, and finally begins to feel empathy. It didn't come without a toll, though. Violet reflects upon the war and can't deal with the atrocities she committed then. She feels lost, as if she doesn't deserve life, and that no amount of letters written could ever atone for her time in the war. Yet, despite that, her friends, her boss, and her numerous clients remind her it's okay. she's not alone. Just like Violet, I closed myself off a ton emotionally. I've just been going through each day not really caring about what happens next, since I know none of it will be good. When I first saw this show, however, I remembered how to feel. Within Violet, I saw me, a stoic, closed off, socially awkward young adult. Someone haunted by past events who lives in fear about what to do next. Someone who, despite a cold exterior, feels a lot of empathy deep within. This character and show named after her mean the absolute world to me, and it's a prime example of autistic coding done right. I don't really care much for my personal life. I only really feel safe within the confines of my bedroom, where I mostly just lay in bed fantasizing about a better reality. But by experiencing such well-crafted stories with characters I can relate to, I can feel just a little bit of hope. They let me know that there are other people out there just like me who are going through similar situations as me. And no matter how awful the world around me feels, I'm reminded that there is still good in it, and it's worth fighting for.